Mergers and acquisitions. It's this high-stakes world of corporate chess where fortunes are made and, well, fortunes are lost in a single move. But what's the difference between a brilliant, game-changing acquisition and a complete billion-dollar disaster? It really all comes down to the plan. And to see what happens when that plan goes spectacularly wrong, we've got to look at one of the most famous M&A playbooks in recent history.
So this was the game plan for the investment firm 3G Capital. You've heard of them. They're famous for their takeovers of huge brands like Burger King, Kraft, and Heinz. And for a while, Wall Street absolutely loved them for it. I mean, the logic seems pretty solid, right? You buy a company, you slash costs, you boost profits. Simple. But what looks simple on paper can get brutally complex out in the real world.
And this is what happens when that simple plan collides with reality. In 2019, Kraft Heinz had to write down the value of its iconic Kraft and Oscar Mayer brands by a staggering $15 billion. Their stock just crashed. The magic was gone. So what on earth went so disastrously wrong?
To really understand this failure, we have to look past the spreadsheets and get to the core of their entire approach. This wasn't just a bad quarter. This was a fundamental, strategic error from the get-go.
Okay, so here's the most important point. 3G was absolutely brilliant at one thing: aggressive, surgical cost-cutting. But that's a tactic. It's a short-term move. It is not a long-term strategy for building a healthy, growing business. They got so focused on cutting the fat, they completely forgot to feed the muscle.
And this is exactly where their intense internal focus made them blind to the outside world. While 3G was busy with something called zero-based budgeting, where every single expense had to be justified from scratch every single year, the world was changing under their feet. Consumers, especially younger ones, started shifting away from all those processed, packaged foods. They wanted healthier, natural, organic options. But 3G wasn't investing in new products or even marketing for their classic brands. They just assumed they'd be popular forever. Well, they weren't.
Okay, so that's the cautionary tale. How do you avoid the exact same fate? Well, it starts with having a true North Star before you even think about buying another company. And that North Star, that's your business plan.
A real business plan isn't just some dusty document you show to investors. It's your internal roadmap. It clearly defines who you are today, where you're trying to go, and exactly how you plan to get there. It's the foundation that makes sure any big move, like an acquisition, is actually serving the bigger picture and not just some short-term financial goal.
So the first part of building that plan is really an intelligence gathering mission. You have to look outside your own four walls and actually understand the world you're competing in. What does the battlefield even look like?
Now, you don't have to be a business professor to use this stuff. It's really just about asking some critical questions. How much power do my customers have to drive my prices down? How much do my suppliers control my costs? How fierce is the competition out there? Could some new startup just come in and disrupt everything? And are there other products that could just replace mine? This is the landscape, and Kraft Heinz totally missed a huge one: the availability of substitute products, healthier, fresher foods.
So, once you understand the world outside, you have to turn the mirror on yourself. And this part requires some brutal honesty. What are you truly good at? And where are you vulnerable?
Now, what's really cool about this slide is how it turns all that analysis into actual action. Just look at this hypothetical SWOT for Facebook. Under weaknesses, you see they're super dependent on ad revenue. Under threats, there's this huge shift to mobile and other social networks. So what's the opportunity? Growth in mobile. This exact logic is what drove them to go out and acquire WhatsApp for an absolutely eye-popping amount of money. They saw a threat and a weakness, and they used a massive acquisition to turn it into a huge strength. So, once you have all this intelligence, the external picture and the internal picture, you're finally ready to make a choice. And not just what to do, but how you're going to compete.
Broadly speaking, it pretty much boils down to two main paths. Are you going to be the Walmart of your industry, competing by being the absolute lowest cost producer? Or are you going to be the Apple, competing by offering a unique, superior product that people will happily pay a premium for? 3G Capital was completely obsessed with cost leadership, but their customers were starting to demand differentiation that they just weren't providing.
And this right here is a point that gets lost in all the glamour of these huge deals. Buying another company isn't the strategy itself. It's just one way to execute your strategy. It's a tool. It's not the whole project.
You've got other options. You can try to build the capability yourself, which gives you full control, but it's really slow.
You can partner up with another company, which is cheaper but means you have to give up some control. Or you can acquire, which is by far the fastest way to get what you want, but it's also the most expensive and the most risky. The right choice here depends completely on the strategy you chose in the last step.
Okay, so now we can bring this all together. When you follow this kind of disciplined process, you don't just have some vague idea. You have a detailed blueprint for making a really smart, strategic move.
So let's connect this all back to our opening story. How do you make absolutely sure your billion-dollar deal doesn't turn into a billion-dollar mistake? You follow the path. You don't start with the acquisition. You start by building your business plan. That's your North Star. From there, you select your competitive strategy. Only then do you choose how you're going to implement it: build, partner, or buy. If and only if the answer is buy, do you finally create the detailed acquisition plan. See, this is proactive. 3G was reactive, just chasing a tactic instead of actually following a strategy.
But of course, the real world is messy. As the great philosopher Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And believe me, an M&A integration is basically a series of punches to the mouth. Unexpected problems, culture clashes, market shifts, you name it.
And this is the final, crucial takeaway. The whole point of all this planning isn't to create some perfect, flawless prediction of the future. That's impossible. It's to build a framework that is so robust, so well thought out, that when you inevitably get punched in the mouth, you know why you're in the fight in the first place, and you have the strategic foundation to adapt, recover, and ultimately win.